This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're continuing in Daf Hashavua. We're learning Maseches Nedarim, Daf Chaf Gimel Amud Aleph. Okay, so the Gemara says, Reb Shimon Berebi, we'll start from Chav Beis Amud Beis, 2 lines from the bottom. Reb Shimon Berebi, Havale Nidra Lamishra. Reb Shimon Berebi had a neder to mater, Asal Kamayo Rabbanan. So he came before the Rabbanan. Amrile, they said to him, Nadarta Adaita Dahachi, did you make a neder with this in mind? Amar in, he said yes. Adaita Dahachi, with this in mind? In, yes. Kama Zimnan, many times. They asked him many times, did you have this in mind? Did you have that in mind? And he kept on saying, yeah, this is not, that would not be a Pesach. And the Rabbanan were distressed. The Rabbanan were distressed. And they were looking for a Pesach for him. Mishim shalatula, going from the sun to the shade. Umitula l'shimsha, and from the shade to the sun. And they could not come up with a Pesach. Amar le Butnis brei de Abashol ben Butnis. Butnis, the son of Abashol ben Butnis, said to Reb Shimon ben Berebi, Mina darta adaita m'sari Rabbanan mitula shimshim shalatula. Did you make a neder, knowing that the Rabbanan would be distressed going from the shade to the sun and vice versa? Amar lo, Reb Shimon said, no, I didn't make a neder. I never would have made a neder had I known it would cause the Rabbanan so much distress. V'sharye, and the Chachamim matered the neder. Take a look in the Ran. Al daita de mitzari Rabbanan. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 9th line in the Ran. Al daita de mitzari Rabbanan. V'hai lav noilad hu de shchiach. This is not noilad. Now let's explain what the difference between a Pesach and noilad is. Pesach is you didn't realize an eventuality that happened, but it's an eventuality that really should have been expected, you just weren't thinking of it. Noilad is when something comes up totally out of the blue. And there's a rule, we are not poiseach with noilad. We're not matir with noilad. Something that, so to speak, just happens out of the blue, we cannot use as a Pesach. But the Ran says this is not noilad, because it's common. The Gemara continues. Rabbi Shmuel bar Rabbi Yossi Avalei Nidra L'Mishra Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yossi, had a neder. Then he wanted to matter us to come out the Rabbanan, and he came before the Rabbanan. Amrulei, they said to him, Nadarta adaita dahachi, did you make a neder with this in mind? Meaning, if you would have known this and this, would you still have made a neder? Amrluhu in. He said yes. Nadarta adaita dahachi, if you would have made a neder with this in mind, meaning, had you known this would have happened, would you have made the neder? Amalahu in. He said, yeah, I still would have made the neder. Kama zimnin. It happened many, many times. They asked, if you would have known this, if you would have known that, would have you made the neder? And he said, yes. Kimin de chaza hahu katsara, the mitzari rabbanan, when a certain launderer saw that the rabbanan were distressed because of this, that he was causing them distress. They were trying to matter his neder, but he wasn't biting. He said, well, I still would have made the neder. So what did they do? Machye, they hit him, they hit Rabbi Shmuel, b'uchla de katsari, with the sprinkler of a launderer. Amar, so then the Rabbanan said, then Rabbi Shmuel said, Adaita de machli katsar loy nadri. I never would have been made a neder, knowing that the launderer would hit me. V'sharye l'nafshe. And based on that, he found a heter for himself, which the Rabbanan, meaning he advanced this heter that the Rabbanan accepted, because you can't be mater your own neder. Okay. The Gemara asks, Amrle Rav Acha mi Difti l'Ravina. Rav Acha of Difti said to Ravina, Hi noilad hu. This is noilad. What do you mean it's noilad? It's an unexpected result. Rabbi Shmuel never could have thought that the launderer would hit him with the sprinkler. So that's noilad. Noilad is an unexpected eventuality that we cannot use to mater a neder. V'hatani, we learned in Rabbi saying, we cannot use noilad to be mater a neder, something that's, so to speak, born out of the ordinary. Says the Ran, Umi shari hachi, is this permitted? Koloimar, mi shari liftayach Pesach, is it permitted to open up a Pesach? Shahaneder moichiach hepich me'oisei Pesach? Meaning, is it permitted to be poiseach a Pesach, where the neder demonstrates the opposite of that Pesach? What does that mean? Sharei kol ikar haneder, the whole purpose of the neder haya ella shim tavar al daitoi te'eser b'hanasai. Well, meaning the halacha is that you cannot be poiseach with noilad. Well, actually, this is going on a different step in the Gemara. So the Gemara answers, Amarle, Hai lav noiladhu. This is not considered a situation of noilad. Why is it not considered a situation of noilad? The shchichi api koire de mitzari rabbanan. Because it is frequent to have people who are disrespectful who distress the rabbanan. This is not noilad. It's not an unexpected thing for somebody to treat the rabbanan without respect. It's expected. It's normal. There's so many people who treat chachamim without the proper respect. So this is not considered noilad. Okay. The bisu da Abaye, the wife of Abaye, Havaleha Brata, had a daughter from a different marriage, and there was a fight between Abaye and his new wife who this girl should marry. Who Amra Lekrivai. Abaye said that he wants her to marry one of his relatives. He Amra Lekrivei. And she said that it should be given to her relative. Amar Leah. So he said to his wife, Titasrana asi alecha, my hana should be usher to you. Iavart adatoi. If you violate my desire, uminsavet la lekrivach, and you marry her off to your relative. So Abaye wanted his wife to marry her off to his relative. He said, if you marry her off to your relatives, then I asked her my hana to you. Azlas, she went va'avart al date, and she went and she violated his desire. Va'ansava lekrive, and she married her off to her relative. Asal kamed Rabbi Yosef. So Abaye came to Rabbi Yosef. Amar le, Rabbi Yosef said, Ilu hava yadat. If you would have known the avris al daitach, that she would have violated your will, uminsvala lekrive, and married her to her own relative, mi'adart, would you have made the neder? Meaning, what the Chachamim said, what Rabbi Yosef said to Abaye. Abaye came, he wanted to be mater the neder. And what Rabbi Yosef said is, well, if you would have known that she would have violated your wishes, would you have made the neder? Amar loy. Abaye said, no, v'shaya Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef matered it, which is very unusual, because the whole purpose of the neder was that she shouldn't violate his desire. So now what's Rabbi Yosef saying? If you would have known that she would violate your desire, would you have made the neder? What do you mean? That's exactly why he made the neder. So she shouldn't violate. So Gemara asks, Mi shari ki haigavne, is such a thing permitted? Look in the Ran. Mi shari hachi, is this permitted? Koloimar, mi shari liftayach Pesach, is it permitted to open up a Pesach? Shah neder moichiach, that the neder proves hepech me'oisei Pesach, the opposite of that opening. Shari kol ikar neder, the whole purpose of neder haya Ella, the whole purpose was only Shim Tavar al Datoi, that if she violates his will, to Eser Banasa, she should be Eser and Ana. So Gemara says, yes, you are allowed to make such a Pesach Vatanya, like we learned in a Braysa, Maisa B'Adamecha, there was a story with one person, Shehid Deres Ishta Milalos L'Regel, he answered his wife from going up to be Oile Regel. Now, normally, the expression of Milalos L'Regel means, in general, that you're now to be regal, but in this case, it's talking about to go to the public shiurim that they would go to on the regalim, and he made the neder. He answered her from going to the shiur ubalifnei Rabbi Yossi, and he came to Rabbi Yossi because he answered her in hana if she would go to the shiur. Amar lo, Rabbi Yossi said, "Ve'ilu hayah." If you would have known that she would violate your will, and she would go to the shiur, klum hidarta, would you have ever made such a neder? Amar loy loy. He said no. V'yitir Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yossi matered it. So this is exactly the same case as Rabbi Yosef was matter for Abai, where Abai said, I made the neder, I didn't want her to violate my will, and Rabbi Yosef said, if you would have known she would have violated your will, would you have made the neder? And he said, no, and it was permitted. Now, there's a big kasha here in the Ran. The Ran asks, B'chlal, why do you need hatara? This is Nidrei's reason. Nidrei's reason we had in the beginning of the parak. If you made a neder, you didn't really mean it, you just wanted to be mazari somebody, it's not chal. It's only to pressure. Now, it's a very big difference between this and Nidrei's reason. By Nidrei's reason, even though you said, I'm not going to take less than 4, but you did mean that you won't accept 2. Because I'm saying 4, you're saying 2, but I don't mean 4, and you don't mean 2, we would agree at 3. But, so I don't really mean what I'm saying by a typical case of Nidrei's reason. In this case, the person making neder doesn't want his wife to go against what he's saying. So the question is that why is this not considered Nidrei's reason? Let's take a look in the Ran. The Ran says, "V'im toimar matmehinan meikara." Well, my matmehinan meikara. What was the Gemara's question to begin with? That the Gemara wants to know, why do you need a Pesach? Mi shari hachi. The question shouldn't be, how could you be matter? The question should be, it should be mutter without a hatara, like the case of the Mishnah. So the Ran says, no, it's not at all like Nidrei's reason. Why? In the case of Nidrei's reason, he doesn't mean it. He never meant that he's not going to take less than 4, and the buyer never meant he's not going to pay more than 2. Here, his das was, it should be a neder if she violates his stipulation. V'daitai, and his opinion. This is not called Nidrei's reason. Pesach. It's not Nidrei's reason, because Nidrei's reason, you don't mean what you said. But this, you do mean what you said. It just is a Pesach. If you would have known that she would have violated, you never would have been made the neder to begin with. So that's why the Ran says that basically in the Mishnah, we know that you didn't mean it. Okay. Let's see the next Mishnah. Rabbi Lezer ben Yaakov Omer, Af haroitza lahader es chaveroi sheyoichal etzlai. Even someone who wants to make a neder against his friend and to sort of force him that I want you to eat with me, Yomer lai, he should say, Kol neder shani asa lidar hu batal. Any neder that I'm going to say is batal, uvovad sheyizacher b'shas neder. And that would work as long as we remember this at the time of the neder. In other words, let's say I want to ensure that you eat by me. So he wants to make a neder to his friend, so to speak, to force him to eat with him. He should say like this: whatever neder I'm going to say should be batal. And as long as you keep that in mind when you made the neder, then that is going to be worthwhile, that is going to be effective to be mevatel your neder at the time that you made it. Okay, now, we'll see next time whether this case presents a question on the above mentioned neder of somebody who assered his wife from being oile regal, or assered his wife from the situation we just said, where Abaye assered his wife from marrying off the daughter to her own relative. Okay, we'll hold it over here. This is Daf Chaf Gimel Amud Aleph, and Bezos Hashem, next time we'll see Daf Chaf Gimel Amud Beis. Okay, Hatzlach everyone.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.